So Donald Trump this week said about Harry, "I wouldn't protect him. He betrayed the Queen. That's unforgivable. Unforgivable. He would be on his own if it was down to me." I mean, isn't that kind of what Sun readers think, isn't it? I mean,
Well,
you know, he
yeah.
should be on his own. He's let the Queen down. He's betrayed the Queen, and it's unforgivable. He's kind of got a point, hasn't he,
Well,
Donald?
he has got a point, you know. And the fact is, you know, Harry. I mean, it's quite ironic that Harry's defence in America for this so-called drug taking is that what he wrote about it in his book Spare could have been lies, which of course makes you think how much in that book's lies, you know, if that's true. But it's not, of course. I think when he wrote that, he genuinely did. And I mean, Harry had a very sort of strange schooling. I mean, he didn't have any work. He left school with an A-level in art and nothing else, you know. I mean, he was just a hopeless student, probably Eton's worst student. But you know, he still was, you know, had the royal family backing him, and he got to Sandhurst, and he got to into the Blues and Royals, and he got to fly helicopters, you know. So and of course Harry, you know, did serve the country well, I must say. He went did 2 terms service in Afghanistan, and you know, I tell you what, I really liked him. I loved working with him, Matt. He was such a super guy to work with. He was so enthusiastic, so brilliant with children. I can't tell you, and he's a great loss to the country. But you know, that's his choice, and you can't have it both ways. You can't come here when you like and pick up Scotland Yard at the airport and drop them when you go back when it suits you. It doesn't work like that.
You're right. If Donald Trump does follow, you know, become president and follow through with what he's saying, we could see Harry having to live somewhere else or having to come back to the UK more.
It'd probably be to Canada, you know. I mean, probably Canada. And although Canada, you know, will they give him a visa? I mean, you know, I mean, obviously, if he's thrown out of the United States for drug taking, well, then, I mean, who's going to take him? He'll have to come back. But, you know, I'm sure that I always believe there's a chance, you know, everybody's can have a second chance. And I think if he came back and was quite contrite, I think the King would put him back in on royal service, you know. And I think, you know, quite honestly, we miss him, you know. I mean, the royal family's pretty thin at the moment, and what with our King having treatment for cancer, and Catherine, you know, she's resting after a serious operation. I think, you know, we could do with Harry now, but that's his choice. But you know, it's a fact of life that you can't have your cake and eat it, and Harry wants to do that, and unfortunately, it's not going to happen, Harry.
Just sticking on Trump, I don't know if you remember, about 4 or 5 years ago, The Sun did a story where some hoaxers had pretended to be Greta Thunberg, and they'd got through to Harry, and Harry actually was quite insulting about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? He said Donald Trump's got blood on his hands, and he laughed about the fact that a man like Donald Trump had become US president. Is it normal for members of, although it was a candid kind of off the record remark that was recorded by these hoaxers, it's not normal for members of the royal family to have this kind of public spat with a world leader like Donald Trump?
No, Donald Trump said about Harry that he was horsewhipped, or he was whipped. He was led around by the nose by Meghan, and he'll walk out on that marriage eventually. You know, now, I mean, that's pretty insulting too. So I think you know, it's tit for tat, but that never works. You know, in my view, that never works. And you know, if Donald Trump becomes the president, and it looks very much like it could happen, but you know, Harry is going to be worrying if he's going to be kicked out. Listen, I'm already there's a case going on at the moment in America where Harry's having to defend it, you know, case this, and that's what I'm saying. You know, he's going to find it not very comfortable in the next couple of years, in my view, and it's sad, really, as I say, because you know, truly he is a decent, nice man, and I can't tell you how much he's changed, but you know, he's still, in my view, he's got that wonderful smile, and when he was with children, he became a child. He was just a fantastic person to work with. But it's his choice, and you know, we make our choices in life, and sometimes they don't work out, and sometimes they do.
You mentioned about you having an uncomfortable couple of years potentially for Harry if Donald Trump comes in. He's had an uncomfortable couple of days with the Home Office, with his row, but also you mentioned there about the court case that he has in America. It's not his court case,
no,
but it's a think tank is trying to get the Homeland Security to release the details of his immigration status,
right,
because he had spoken about his drug taking
Yeah.
in his book. And you go, the Homeland Security have said that it's the book is not sworn testimony,
That's right.
i.e., it's not really, it cannot be judged whether it's in court, whether it's true or not, because it's not kind of been sworn on. But Harry has said a lot on Netflix. He said a lot in this book, Spare, criticising the royal family, talking about his family. Is it a case that finally we are seeing that his words are having consequences? The fact that the royal family have not really ever hit back about things that he said, but now we've actually got a US court judging whether his book is true or not. I mean, his words finally are actually having to be judged. They're having to be they've got consequences.
Yeah, well, it's his defence, isn't it? Well, the defence of the lawyers acting on his behalf, that maybe they wasn't true. Well, you can't have it both ways. If it's true, then you're guilty. But if it's not true, you're a liar. Because and what else in the book is lies? Is it some of the things and a lot of the books in a lot of stories in that book are strange. I mean, I was with Harry in Cloisters skiing trip when the Queen Mother died, but he don't remember that. He thinks he was somewhere else, completely somewhere in the UK when the Queen Mother died. Now I remember it clearly because I photographed him the next day going back to the UK for the funeral. So a lot of that book is inaccurate. Or maybe he lied about the drugs, but you know what? If you did, Harry, well, what's the point of writing anything more? Because we don't know if it's going to be true or not. And the one thing is, you can trust you can trust someone if they can tell you the truth, whatever happens. But once they tell you a lie, then you doubt almost what they say in future. And I found that in life generally. If you're caught lying, then who knows when you're going to be telling the truth and when you're not. So. Yeah. Harry is probably getting a bit of a rough time at the moment, and I think he's going to have to think carefully of what he does in the future. And certainly, I think he's got his fingers crossed that Donald Trump doesn't win.
You've known the King and the Queen for many years, worked with them.
Yeah.
It's a difficult question, but how do you think all the trouble that Harry causes, is he just too much trouble for them? I mean, what does the King think about all the controversy that Harry is causing overseas recently?
Well, look, I mean, when Harry came recently to see the King, it was the right thing to do. But how long did he get with the King? The King held his helicopter for a half an hour. But if there would have been genuine love between the two and genuine reconciliation, he would have got on the helicopter with him and gone to Sandringham and spent the weekend with the King. But he didn't. He came and he went straight home, walked straight home the next day. So, there doesn't seem to be such a strong feeling between them anymore. I think the King is angry about what was said about his wife